I feel like it's one of those like Mentos commercials where like I want to look and it's gonna like.
Hello, and welcome to Good Matters, a show about building businesses that make the world better. I'm Rachel Parker Chavez, and I think the world has some room to get better right about now, and I'm so very thankful for the entrepreneurs and the business owners who are using business to be part of that solution. I'm so grateful to get to sit and talk with them about how they do, what they do, and why they do it, and today is no different. I sat down with a founder who's laser focused on inspiring the next generation to be kind and compassionate humans, something I think we can all agree is necessary for the next generation. Misty Castaneda, founder of For Purpose Kids. For Purpose Kids is a global brand designed to inspire kids to be kind by connecting them to the community and the world through giving and volunteering. They provide a platform of resources to get kids involved, connect you with kid-friendly, reputable nonprofits, and offer products like the For Purpose Kids Toolkit and quarterly subscription boxes that are a tangible way to get kids excited about helping others and serving in their community. At the time of this interview, For Purpose Kids was just 4 short months old. And so in addition to talking about how the next generation can be inspired to be kind and compassionate humans, Misty and I also talk about her journey in the trenches as a new founder, her global partnerships and launching of a physical product, as well as her advice and encouragement for anyone just getting started. I'm just super excited about everything that's going on. So give us a little bit of background about you and what For Purpose Kids is and is all about.
For Purpose Kids, our mission is inspiring empathy, compassion, and purpose in young children through giving and volunteering. Basically, in normal speak, that just means we're looking to engage kids from 5 to 10 years old in giving back and volunteering so that they can become more compassionate, empathetic human beings. Our website is a platform of resources for adults, so whether it's parents, grandparents, teachers, aunts and uncles, resources to help them locate opportunities for their kids, and then activities that are fun and inspiring for young kids to get them involved as well.
Awesome, love it. Tell us a little bit about the actual physical product, because you have the platform and you have the resources there, but it's also the main kind of bulk of the product is a physical subscription or product, or tell us a little bit about exactly how that works.
Right, so when we launched in February of 2017, the goal following the crowdfunding campaign was to develop 100 For Purpose Kids toolkits. So it's a starter kit of sorts for kids geared towards ages 5 to 10. It involves a book that I found called The Giving Book, written by Ellen Sabin, which just I thought was the perfect resource. It has colorful pictures, very simple to understand language. It's a collaborative book that adults can do with children that teaches them about the concepts of giving and charity. So in conjunction with that, we've developed a journal. It's the Journal of Purpose and Action, so that as kids and adults are going through this, they can write down their ideas, their passions, things that they want to do when they're out there volunteering or fundraising for different organizations. We've got a For Purpose Kids t-shirt so that when the kids are out in the space volunteering, that they can go ahead and have that t-shirt on. We've just tried to put together something that's fun, that's a great resource, but that is also fun and engaging for the kids. Yeah. But we're getting ready to launch our quarterly subscription boxes. So that's currently what we're working on to add to the product that we already have.
Where did this come from? Like, what was your motivation behind starting For Purpose Kids?
I think For Purpose Kids is the perfect culmination of everything I've done in my life. I went to school to be a teacher. I've always enjoyed working with children. Have kind of happened upon my personal mission, which is to help children feel safe and loved in this world. And spent a lot of time volunteering with children and those at risk. And following my experience in sales and marketing in the hospitality industry, I found that I really enjoyed connecting with people and going out and, putting things together that make sense. So it was, working with children, it was the volunteering that I've done internationally and domestically, connected with my sales and marketing experience that brought all of this together. And I think living abroad as well, I had the opportunity to live in Hong Kong for a while. Living abroad and getting to volunteer in more international organizations, while also enjoying a very privileged lifestyle, I got the opportunity to see that a lot of the kids that are being raised today are a little bit out of touch with some of the things that are happening in the world. And if we can engage kids from a young age to start looking a little bit more at the realities of things that that perhaps we can increase some of the empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
Some of the things I think that are maybe missing a little bit in some of the current environment that we're finding ourselves in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think especially starting at a young age. I think that's what's intriguing to me about for-purpose kids. It's like, yes, this is, I think to make any kind of change, we're gonna have to get kids involved. I mean, from a young age.
You know, with Mateo, even though he is, you know, a little bit young for this, as he just turned 1, you know, the idea is bringing him up with this, you know, idea of philanthropy, giving back, as something that we do in our everyday life. It's not something that we only do at certain times. It's something that really becomes part of our journey.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I love it. I love it. So one of the things you mentioned, we talk a lot at Defining Good about specific like hurdles and ways for people who are starting social enterprises or are just in the beginnings or thinking about it. And I know that you have a really kind of unique experience because you have done a lot of international work. So tell us a little bit about those partnerships that you've made, and kind of maybe we'll talk about some of the challenges and why, what you found positive about it.
Yes, absolutely. So when I came up with the idea for For-Purpose Kids, I was still living in Hong Kong. While I was there getting to volunteer, I was really trying to think too about, you know, how can we create something that is global, that's not just focused on where one's living, but really bring in all these other aspects. And so I learned of an organization when I was over there. It's now known as One Sky. It was Half the Sky when I was there, and they do a lot of work with orphans in China. And as I got to learn more about them, I just kept thinking about, you know, what can we do with an organization like For-Purpose Kids that will benefit some of these really strong organizations abroad that I became familiar with. Now, the interesting thing about this partnership that I now have with One Sky is that as we transitioned back to the US, I found that we were moving within an hour of their US headquarters, which is in Berkeley. So I was meeting with them in Hong Kong, but naturally transitioning back to the Bay Area, getting a chance to meet with them. And so it naturally created this global connection that I have with them. And since traveling back to Hong Kong, I've had a chance to meet with them in their offices there to think about how we can bring in this global partnership to For-Purpose Kids. So they're starting a new project in Vietnam. I thought this is a great opportunity to support One Sky, and we'll be donating 10% of our proceeds from the sales of our products to their new project in Vietnam. So I have the, you know, the ability, very fortunate to be able to travel back to Hong Kong a few times a year, which makes this international partnership something that I think will be great for us. You know, hopefully opportunities to go visit the site in Vietnam and be able to be on the ground with some of their activities there, but then also bring it back to the US and see what we can do in the US to support the things that they're doing abroad. So it really gives us a unique perspective to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you've been working internationally, is there anything that you found? I mean, it's such a blessing that you were able to transition from Hong Kong and then, oh, there's an office also down the street. Like, how kind of fortunate is that? Maybe a little bit kismet. But other than that, like, has there been challenges? Like, if people are thinking they want to do some international work, have you found that there's anything that you would say has been challenging that you would kind of caution people who are maybe thinking about that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been interesting along the journey of starting a social enterprise are some of the things that I don't necessarily think of right off the bat. So things like tax liabilities or accounting procedures and those kinds of things, you know, registered businesses. And if I'm working in both places, you know, do I need to be registered in the US and also in Hong Kong? So I think that's one of the things that I just need to, you know, caution people about, that it's important to get the proper information.
Do you need to be registered in both?
No.
Okay.
Not right now for what we're doing.
Okay.
But I think, you know, with the ease of doing business online, you know, there's a lot of kind of gray area with these things. So I'm just making sure that now at this point I'm connecting with people, make sure that we're following the proper, you know, guidelines and things like that. But if we were to start selling product and having more of a footprint, I think, in Asia, then, you know, at that point I think it would be worth it for us to explore registering businesses abroad and looking at what that would mean to have, you know, more of an international because we're registered here in California.
Now you're here in California,
yes,
so sorry, I wanted to be like, clarify, we're not in Hong Kong.
Yes, no, we're not in Hong Kong.
How much fun would that be? And maybe next time you go, I'll be able to.
And the goal is to really have it in both places. And I think that because we have so many friends and contacts and support in Hong Kong, the goal is to have it exist in both places, and then be able to have for-purpose kids be something that's not just an idea and a brand in the U.S., but is something that is in Hong Kong, and then can be scaled to other parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I think it's great. I think there's something to be said about thinking about the idea of everyone now being part of volunteerism and empathy and compassion, and also obviously for the next generation of that being a global conversation.
Absolutely. And one of the things with for-purpose kids that's really important again is the long-term goal, and something that I'm passionate about and has been really important in my life, is that international volunteering piece. It's important to start small when we're talking about children that are 5 to 10. So it's just getting, teaching kids about the idea of volunteering and the impact that it can have. But for me, my goal is to take my son Mateo to India to volunteer by the time he's 5 or 6. I look at the experience and what that provided to me when I was in my mid to late 30s, and I think if I had had that awareness of other cultures and other situations and other faiths and all of that goes with that, the impact that would have had on my life as a child. Things that may seem different or unknown become less scary when you're experiencing them firsthand. With some of the challenges that we're finding in society right now, again, I think, if we're raising our children with this idea of empathy and compassion as compared to fear, I think we'll be looking at a much different landscape in next 10, 15, 20 years perhaps than some of the things we're seeing now.
Yeah, oh, that's so good. I love it. And so just to backtrack real quick, because I want to make sure I touch on it before I'm just like, and all the good things. From a perspective of as you've gotten started and as you have kind of gone through this journey of social entrepreneurship and kind of navigating your way through, is there anything else that you want to just kind of speak to as far as like cautionary tales or things that you really want to like just highlight as people are starting out and starting their journeys that you can share with us?
Absolutely.
From yours.
Passion and dedication is so crucial. Coming from a sales and marketing background with my passion for kids and my experience working and volunteering with kids, I thought that this perfect idea would come together, that I would pull all of the product together, something that was new for me. I thought that was going to be my challenge. I didn't think that the sales and marketing part of getting the word out about what I'm doing would be a challenge. If I didn't have the passion and dedication to what I'm doing, I can say that I probably would have folded a couple of months ago. I think that I very much underestimated the drive that is required to become an entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur specifically. Yeah. I think just because we see a need in the world and it's well received by people and people think that what you're doing is wonderful and that it's necessary, what I'm learning is that doesn't necessarily translate to success or sales or anything like that. What is a very short period of time, looking, in saying, I've been doing this now for 4 months, in the scope of an enterprise, that's a very short period of time. But when you're living, breathing, and it's your passion of everything you've done and you've put your heart, soul, and finances into it, and you're not seeing immediate returns, it can be really difficult. I think that's where, for me, comes the importance of having a network and a support group of people that are doing similar things. I need champions and cheerleaders. A group of people that I feel comfortable going to and saying, this is what I thought was going to happen, and we are in a much different situation now. And how do we work through that? How do we talk to people that have been successful in starting enterprises and some of the things that they need to look at and tweak. And I guess bottom line, coming back to it, is just things are not going to happen at all like you expect them to, and a lot of the success comes from that and learning how to overcome that. It can be extremely difficult, especially when it's your personal mission.
Right.
You know, I've worked for companies before and certainly have been successful and was invested in the success. But when you're starting an enterprise or a business that is your idea and it's your products and you're not getting the response you expected, you can take that very personally. And that's the other thing I'm learning is that, you know, I have to really shift from that, you know, looking at it as a personal success or failure and really just look at what do I need to do within the marketplace to make this successful.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, a very personal thing, and something that will truly affect the course of culture. I mean, having these ideas of the next generation being, you know, more empathetic and having, like you said, seeing a change in the next 10 to 15 years, like being a part of that bigger picture is, I mean, both an incredible opportunity, but also with that incredible opportunity probably comes a lot of pressure. I mean, to feel like, yes, if we can make this work, it's gonna be, not to be, that seemed really dramatic, and I didn't mean it to sound dramatic, but I mean, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, not just for your personal passion, but I think when people start passion projects, and if it doesn't work out, you can say, okay, well, you know, on to something else, but for this specifically, it's such a huge, I think, necessity for people in general. So that's, I mean, both amazing and probably a little bit intimidating at times.
Intimidating was exactly the word I was thinking of. And you know, it's difficult. We're in a society, and I'm very guilty of this myself, you know. We are distracted by bright, shiny things over here, you know. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is, you know, products are great, we love it, we love what you've done, but this also means that, you know, we've got to add volunteering on after soccer practice and the birthday parties and everything else that we're doing. And to be honest, I think it's also intimidating for the potential consumers as well.
Right.
Just thinking, I know this is something that I should be doing. I know it's extremely important. I want my child to be compassionate and empathetic. I don't want them to be the bully. I don't want them to be, you know, the jerk on the playground. But it also requires a huge time investment from me, you know, and so that's right now a little bit of what we're trying to navigate and negotiate is, you know, how do we make it fun, but how do we make it something that's realistic?
Sure, yeah, I love that, and I love to hear that you're taking that. Taking the time to listen to customer feedback. I think that's a huge part of any enterprise, but especially social enterprise, to be able to take that customer feedback and kind of weave it into your path. Have you found, was that something you did right away?
It took probably 6 or 8 weeks, which again, looking back will be a very short period of time, but that 6 to 8 weeks, I kind of had to look within and say, okay, am I ready to hear the real feedback, right? Am I ready to ask the hard question to get the feedback? And to be honest, the feedback that I got was not nearly as painful as I thought. Again, when it's something you've created and it is, as you said, your passion project, you know, that criticism, you know, while well-meaning can be hard to hear. The good thing again is I've heard that, you know, products and things that we're doing are great. It's just more of a time frame issue. You know, that you know, need to commit to something that is more that. And again, I think, you know, sometimes as entrepreneurs, we tend to really overthink what it is. You know, I have one woman that, you know, I used to work with. She's great in sales and marketing. She loves the idea. She's now doing her own blog, and she keeps telling me she's going to buy it, but then she's not buying it. So I keep asking her, you know, and I just think it's time. Yeah. She's got 3 kids. She's trying to, you know, sustain her own business. She's trying to do all this. And I think that's the thing too, that we start to overthink things when it's really just the fact that, you know, between smartphones and iPads and kids and all of this, we're just distracted. And whereas For Purpose Kids is my life, what I have to learn is For Purpose Kids is not everybody else's life and top of mind all the time.
That's a great quote, yes. That is 100%, I've been there. So what would you say, thinking through all these kind of challenges and the successes of For Purpose Kids and what your journey along the way, is there any one thing that you're like, man, I wish I had known that when I started?
The time. I think I wish I had known, somebody had told me a realistic time frame for launching a business, because I'm not in, working in a traditional job at the same time, I had this idea that I was gonna take 3 months, and if it worked, then I would continue on, and if it didn't, then I'm not, and I've realized that's a very unrealistic. You know, that if you're gonna put your heart and soul into something, that you really need to be in it for the long haul. Having a reason to wake up every single day for something that you're not just good at, but that you feel so strongly about, that to me is, as we talked about earlier, that's what you need to keep going. If I didn't have that at 3 in the morning when I was, you know, trying to figure out how to get the blog post out and how to integrate it with, you know, the newsletter that was gonna go out with the email blast in the morning, if I didn't have that drive and I hadn't taken that leap of faith, then I'm not sure that it would have been, you know, that things would have been worth it.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here. And so for me, that's take that leap of faith, trust yourself, and believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, so good. All right, tell us the new, I mean, you kind of spoke to it a little bit, the newest thing kind of coming up for For Purpose Kids and how we can engage with you and connect with you and the company.
Yes, great. So 2 things we're working on. So for our personal products, we are getting ready to launch our quarterly subscription boxes. And each one will be focused on a different area of passion and need. So the first will be the toolkit, as we talked about, that we sell as a standalone. The second is going to be focused on people and communities in need. So we've selected a children's book, supporting activities, and a resource guide to go along with that to support learning about people and communities in need. The third box will be focused on animals. So animal conservation, how to help animals locally, internationally, you know, local animal shelters, how kids can get involved in doing that, and then also looking at species and things that are endangered abroad and how they can get involved. And the final subscription box for the first annual subscription will be focused on the environment. So again, we've selected another children's book, and then we'll have a resource guide and accompanying activities. We're putting all the finishing touches on the boxes now so that those will be ready to go out. So we've got that. And then one more thing to look at will be another international partnership where we are working with a company called Baby Hero in Hong Kong, and they design and produce baby clothes. And for each item of clothing that's purchased, they donate a neonatal survival kit to a mother. One of the directions we'd like to go with For Purpose Kids is not only our own products, but highlighting and supporting projects for kids that also give back. So we're working with Baby Hero right now to feature their clothing on our site, and you'll be able to purchase them from us as well. And so we're looking to collaborate with different brands that do that.
Very, very cool. And how can we connect with you? How can we follow you and For Purpose Kids, and what's the best way to get involved?
Okay, so number of different ways. Facebook, we've got For-Purpose Kids on the Facebook page.
Okay, cool. We'll add that to the show notes.
Yep, that's great. And then our website, for-purposekids.com. We've got an Instagram page, and we have our blog as well.
You wouldn't know it from that quick chat, but Misty is as fierce as she is friendly, and I'm so very thankful for her and excited about her compassion and commitment to making change and seeing the world get better. And I hope you are too. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them my way. If you like this video, please share it, especially if you know of other people who are also using business for good. And don't miss a thing by signing up for Defining Good updates, tools, and free resources on defininggood.com. Remember, you have a unique voice and a distinct circle of influence, so you can choose to ignore it, or you can use it to change the world. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.
It's in the toolkit.
What is it?